Before we begin, I'd like to get a few things out of the way. This is an open letter to the team behind the Brew YouTube channel. This letter is about my thoughts and feelings surrounding the channel and being a fellow content creator. YouTube videos are not my main form of content creation though, so if some of the audio or video editing is subpar, please give it some grace as I'm doing this all myself with no real experience. That said, let's get into it. If you've been on YouTube for any amount of time, you're probably familiar with the genre of true crime. True crime has doubtlessly been a trending genre as of late, especially amongst those who want something a little more invigorating than your typical BBC cozy murder mystery, featuring a granny detective or Pudley sidekick. I myself have been fascinated by this genre from a young age. There's just something about it that scratches that itch of morbid curiosity. I don't know how to describe it. But, like most things on YouTube.com, it's not without controversy. You probably don't need me to tell you that crime can vary greatly between mundane or rather tame things like fraud and tax evasion to extreme acts of violence like sexual assault and murder. This range of variation follows itself into the true crime genre, and this is where things can get a little hazy. The big question is the true crime genre ethical? That sounds pretty bold, I'm sure, but let's put it like this. Is it ethical to make content surrounding violent criminals and serial killers for the purpose of entertainment? Is the impact on victims or families and friends of victims something that should be taken into account and respected? Should we be concerned about giving notoriety to criminals and satisfaction or encouragement to those at risk of violent tendencies? I'll leave the answers to these philosophical quandaries to be answered in your own time, but I do feel like these questions are important to the discussion I want to make. Where Brew falls into this. In general, I'm very finicky about the true crime content I watch. I have strict personal convictions and a strong sense of moral justice that leads me to dislike most podcasts for being, in my opinion, too sensationalized or needlessly gory. I'm not here to discuss or debate my specific opinions or tastes either, but this is initially what led me to the Brew channel and made me stay. For those who don't know, Brew is a Canadian commentary PNG tuber that makes content focused on disasters, mysteries, medical case stories, true crimes, history, and fun facts. It's a sort of cabinet of curiosities, if you will, all with a central coffee theme and other side characters, lore, and running gags. All in all, quite charming. It's also worth noting that Brew is a fictional character voiced by Arthur L., and that he isn't the only individual behind the channel. In fact, there's a whole team. I initially found the Brew channel fairly early on in their climb to fame, around 2019 or 2020, but I was a pretty casual listener until recently. This series can be a little cringe if you're not into the characters and bits, or even a bit jarring with the host being such a kawaii little blob with such a serious voice. This isn't meant to be criticism, it's just to say I can understand why some people wouldn't be hooked on it immediately. It's certainly not everyone's cup of tea, or coffee in this case, but it is mine. And like any good cup of coffee, you begin to crave it after a while. My cravings were particularly strong in the winter of 2025 and 2026. I found myself sitting on the couch and queuing a playlist of videos while I crocheted for hours on end. Before I knew it, I'd watched every video in their library. There was something about Brew I just couldn't get enough of and didn't seem to find in any other channel. For one, Brew seems to have an emphasis on education versus entertainment. Never during a Brew video have I felt like they went out of their way to provide detailed and disturbing images or content purely for shock value. Naturally, there will be disturbing content in channels like this, but what I'm specifically referring to is actual depictions of violence or gore, borderline torture porn, in-depth explanations of methods used by criminals, and prioritizing more violent and extreme cases. Seems like a low bar, but one that sadly many podcasts fail to get past. Even then, Brew takes it a step further. In adherence with the No Notoriety Protocol, a campaign founded by the families of victims killed or injured in violent cases, Brew has stopped depicting or naming violent perpetrators in order to avoid giving attention to criminals or inspiring new ones, since notoriety and infamy is a well-known motivating factor. Instead, they focus on the victims of the crimes, as well as those who helped to solve it. Furthermore, Brew is very good about getting reputable sources and unique perspectives in their cases, instead of repeating the same things other channels cover in the YouTube true crime echo chamber. This unique format has made their channel feel like genuinely good journalism instead of just clickbait slap jumping on the YouTube crime trend. Secondly, I like their politics. As I mentioned with them being well researched, the Brew team is always coming up with unique stories to bring to light. Some of these involve politics and activism, and Brew is not scared to use their platform to call out injustices or corruption when they see it. They stand for what they believe in and prioritize freedom of information, even if it puts them in potential jeopardy. That said, they never actually tell you how to feel about certain topics. They simply give you the information to form your own opinions and omit details that aren't necessary. They are a politically active channel, but not one that is obsessed with blasting their own opinion. If you don't quite get what I mean, here's an explanation. The true crime genre is often inherently political, or made out to be so. There is a lot of heated debate about the justice system, death penalty, rehabilitation, etc. There's politically motivated crimes, government conspiracies, or miscarriages of justice. There's also a non-zero amount of casual criminalists out there who are very quick to place disproportionate emphasis on the minority roles of criminals such as race, disability, gender identity, or sexual orientation, even when they don't have anything to do with the crime. Yes, even the liberal channels. Brew, on the other hand, maintains a neutral and open-minded perspective on many topics and refrains from making personal, moral, or political attacks or emphasis. Which, again, I think that's just good journalism. The cherry on top is the Brew crew's vocal disdain for AI-generated content and academic plagiarism. Everything they work on is completely original and human-made. In this day and age, I think that's phenomenal. This led me to not only enjoy their series, but develop a deep, personal sense of respect for them as creators and people. The bad news. Okay, so this news isn't so bad as it is bittersweet. On April 8th, 2026, the official Brew YouTube account posted an announcement. Quote, "Hey folks, we wanted to let you in on some bittersweet news. Arthur, the original voice of Brew, has received a job opportunity that he can't pass up. We're very happy for him, but of course we're sad to potentially lose him as the voice of OG Brew. There is a chance that he is able to continue voicing Brew sporadically in the future, but there's also a chance he may not have time to balance that with his new job. His focus needs to be on his new job, and we will be supportive of whichever choice he ends up making." Before starting his new job, he was able to record a bit of backlog of scripts and also offered to record more scripts over the next couple of weekends, so he'll still have more videos with his voice. But don't worry, nothing about our content is going to change. Regardless of what happens, the rest of us on the Brew crew, Ben, Baron, Carter D, Jay, Jimmy, Jonathan, Martin, Mickey, and Roland, will still be here making videos and are excited to share with you what we've been working on. We also have CJ continuing Cold Brew narrations, and we'll be looking for other voice actors as well. If this is something you'd be interested in, or if you know someone who might be a great fit, feel free to upload a recording of yourself narrating an excerpt from one of our scripts at the Google form below." End quote. There is more to this post, but that's kind of irrelevant to what I want to say. When I first saw this post on my dash, I was just laying around in my living room and doom scrolling. I don't believe in signs from God, and I'm not a particularly spiritual person in general. But I remember seeing that post and making a mental note to apply later, only to get up in a manic frenzy a couple seconds later to record and edit an audio clip, despite having very surface-level experience. I submitted my audition that day. Again, only to sleep on it and decide it was trash. I ended up entirely re-recording my audition and submitting it again the next day under a different email, in case it was against policy. Although, to be fair, they didn't have a submission limit on the form, so I don't know. To be completely upfront with you all, I hope I do get the role. Now, before you assume I'm a selfish, egotistical maniac, some background context might be relevant here. My name is Artemi. I'm an independent artist from, well, buttfuck nowhere. My main project is a comic called Gentle Hands, which is a queer period piece about World War I, the Russian Revolution, and what it is like living with a disability. Aside from that, I do commission work and crochet custom art dolls. I'm also currently enrolled in college for a degree in education, specifically history and psychology, but more on that later. This is by no means a very lucrative profession, and I don't exactly have a, quote, real job outside of content creation. As the synopsis of my comic would suggest, I am disabled. Because of my physical and sometimes even mental state, I have a hard time working traditional 9-to-5s. Content creation and art has become a far more accessible and fulfilling career option for me, even if it is such a gamble and so wildly unreliable as a source of income. So, in many ways, it was that desperation that led me to apply for the voice acting role, but that's not all of it. As I said, I'm currently in college, but these past few months have been very difficult for me. To say I'm passing all my classes would be a very generous statement. I've never been a very good student, Not because I'm stupid or academically challenged or don't have a drive to learn. I do. In fact, I love learning more than anything. That's why I wanted to become an educator. But it's because I struggle to fit myself into the standards the education system expects. I don't want to overshare, but there have been some events and people that led me to spiral into a very deep depression and a perpetual cycle of self-isolation. I actually wrote this entire script while having a panic attack as a means of grounding myself. And you know what, it worked, so yay. But seeing that casting call made me address something I'd been willfully ignoring. I really don't want to go to college. As much as I love the idea of pursuing a career in education, school, and especially community college is not the way I want to do it. I didn't even apply for college because I wanted to. I did it because I was scared. I was scared I would be a flop in my artistic endeavors, and I would be homeless and broke forever. I had so little faith in myself and my abilities and ideas that becoming a high school teacher was my ideal backup plan. If I could have my way, I would make content full-time and integrate my passion for education into that somehow. When I submitted my audition, I really leaned into it. In my free time, I made a little brew sona. I daydreamed about hosting the podcast or meeting the team behind it. I spent every day loading and reloading the channel page in the hopes of updates. My expectations may have been unrealistic, but I had fun, and I still am having fun. And compared to that last week, when I was half ready to curl up in a ball and give up, that's all that matters. This is why I hope I get the role. Not just because my financial situation is destitute, but because it gave me hope, and it gave me joy. And if I'm lucky, maybe it will continue to do so. To Arthur, from a fellow content creator. All that said, I'm still sad to potentially lose Arthur. I would be lying if I said it wasn't his particular voice and cadence that really drew me into the channel. Sorry, CJ, I love you too. It's not that you're bad or anything, I'm just bad at adapting to changes. Anyway. But as someone who's been making my own content for years, I get it. Stepping away from projects, even temporarily, can be a difficult ordeal. Even more so when it becomes detrimental to the viewer or subscriber counts. And there gets to be a point where you have to prioritize yourself over the content you make. So, I'm sure this has been a difficult decision for everyone involved. But, in my own weird parasocial way, I'm so incredibly proud of you, Arthur. You deserve it. You have the congratulations of myself and many others. So, good luck in your pursuits. I hope this letter has meant as much to you as your series has meant to me. You, and even the Brew crew, have made a profound impact on me, and I believe you deserve to know. Even if it was indirectly or through some unpredictable butterfly effect. I found the best way to, quote, succeed in creative spaces is to form genuine connections with people, and lift up and support others when you can. Now, I don't have a big following to send your way, or unimaginable influence, or even money to buy a t-shirt, but I have a story of how much you mean to me. I always love reading heartfelt comments from my viewers, so perhaps giving you a heartfelt letter is my way of paying things forward. So, thank you, Brew, and Brew Crew, for everything you've worked on, and this opportunity. I also want to wish good luck to anyone else who's applied for the voice acting role. Whoever comes out in the end, I'm sure they deserved it. If you've made it this far in the video, you can consider this my formal job application. If for some odd reason you're watching this video and haven't watched the Brew channel before, then what the hell are you doing? Go do that. Go watch the Reddit Solves videos. Those are my favorites and I highly recommend them. And because I need money for food and food to live, you can support me by checking out my webcomic, Gentle Hands on Webtoons, or my Ko-fi store for dolls, merch, and commissions. Blech. I've got gross coffee mouth.